So starting with AE 610, and again, I'm looking around this room and I know that all of you know everything I'm going to be talking about for the next 2 minutes. By the apparent revolution of the sun, of the natural world, times in general and in particular are determined. Days are divided into 4 natural states, which are called morning, noon, evening, and night. So AE 610, talks about this a bunch of other places, heaven and hell for sure. But we live in the natural world, and we have a natural sun, and that natural sun appears to rotate, and so we have naturally organized times of day. Corresponding to which there are 4 states in the spiritual world. So we're talking about different times of day. That's what we're here to do. How does understanding these spiritually shed light on the story of the Lord's birth into the world? You got to understand that there are natural times of day because of their correspondence to spiritual states. It is not known in the spiritual world what times are, although they succeed each other. They are the same as in the natural world. In my experience teaching, for 10 years I taught heaven and hell to 10th graders, sophomores, and we'd get to the chapter on time in heaven, and there's no time in heaven, and it's an uproar. Is it disorganized? It's not disorganized. It probably feels pretty much the same to what the progression of time feels like to us here. It's in a sequence, but it's not limited to the speed at which the earth rotates around the sun, things like that. But there's a sequence to things. So there isn't time, but there is states and their changes. States progress the way that times progress in the world. This is the reason also that times, when mentioned in the word, signify states. A reality of living in the natural world is that there is the progression of time. Evening, night, morning, day, evening, night, morning, day. That originates from the spiritual world because of evening states that progress into nighttime states in some parts of the spiritual world, into morning states, into daytime states. So we go through changes of time, but they really are a correspondential basis for changes in spiritual state. I haven't told you anything you don't know, correct? Yeah, you know all this. This is old stuff, right? Sure. Another one, so after Noah comes out of the ark and makes an offering to the Lord, and the Lord says there will be no more floods. That's it. No more of those floods. And then the promise the Lord makes to Noah, as long as the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So naturally, that's a promise that this progression of time will continue. Spiritually, it's whatever these named times represent that won't end. So there are these pairs here. And there's a pattern here. Do you know it? The Arcana talks about this. There's a pattern here. Which would you, if you were a farmer, which would you like better, seed time or harvest? Harvest, yeah. That's when you get to enjoy all the work you've been putting in. If it was hard to heat your house, which would you prefer, cold or heat? Heat. So the least preferred ones come first in the first 2, but then you get to the second 2, and the more preferred one, which certainly at the time of Noah, summer's better than winter, daytime's better than nighttime. Actually, and this is all significant, in the New King James translation of the Bible, it says, for all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, day and night shall not cease. So they made an editorial decision to flip this pair for some reason. But there's an internal sense that they just, obliterating by doing that. What's the internal sense? The ones on the left are a regenerating person, and the ones on the right are a regenerate person. just to quickly look at a couple of ideas here. Seed time and harvest. There never will be lacking to a person the sowing of seed from the Lord. The Lord's always sowing the seed, giving us the chance to regenerate. And if any seed's taking hold, maybe some change is starting to happen from cold to heat, an alternation of no life and of real life. What I'm more interested in, though, is the two on the right. So I'm going to take the ones on the left off the screen, and now I've opened up more space for myself. So the summer and winter will never end. What does that mean? Now, as it were, in summer, that is in charity, and now in winter, that is in no charity. So a regenerate person, even a regenerate person, will go through alternations. Now in charity, now in no charity. Why does that happen? Well, it happens for our benefit. By means of those alternations, we are perfected more and more, and thus rendered more and more happy. Oh, well, that's good. And this goes on not only while they live in the body, but also when they come into the other life. So this progression of time is something that's for our benefit, going through alternations, now in charity, now not in charity. That's good. That actually helps us to learn how to appreciate it and be happier and be perfected. So that's the summer and winter change. The day and night progression, and that's really what we're interested in here, times of day. Day and night signify the state of the regenerate person as to things of the understanding, the alternations of which are as day and night. So the alternation of summer and winter, that's a warmth or lack of it choice. The alternations of day and night are a light or no light polarity, which is easier to change. The state of heat in your life or the state of light in your life? Well, think about this. What's the ratio of the summer-winter change to the ratio of the day-night change? How many days does it take for summer and winter to change? 365, right? You know what I'm saying? So this summer-winter change, the change of charity or no charity, that's how our loves change. That's a lifelong project. That's a long haul. Day and night, day and night changes 365 times every year. That's a much more readily able to be changed thing, the state of our understanding. The spirits that are with us are bringing affections to us and having an influence on our loves. They're not allowed to touch our thinking. Spirits can't put a thought into your mind. They can stir your affections, which will lead to thoughts, but spirits that are with you can't put a thought into your mind. So we're free. On that day and night side, in the things of the understanding, the alternations of the understanding, that's where we have our most freedom. That's where our mindset, our outlook, our understanding, our attitude toward things, we have much more capability of, I'm going to change that. I'm going to go from darkness to light. It would be nice if I'm going to go from winter to summer. I'm not a very charitable person. I would like to be a more charitable person. That's going to take more time. But the change from darkness to light, you get that 365 times every time summer and winter change.
How come when we sometimes get thoughts that we know are not our thoughts?
Well, those spirits are pretty close. Thoughts that we know are not our thoughts. I'm trying to think of what that would be. Heaven and Hell 298. This is what Heaven and Hell 298 says. Since thought is not introduced into a person through spirits, but only an affection for good and an affection for evil, a person has choice because they have freedom. So that's an assertion that's made in Heaven and Hell. Thought is not introduced into a person through spirits. That's the assertion.
Well, I don't think a thought necessarily takes away your freedom. You don't have to act on it.
Sure. I'm curious what that would be. I'm trying to think of any examples that maybe, where did that come from? But I could maybe examine the fact that I have affections that have led me to think these things that I was a little bit surprised by. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer. So, times of day, this progression of time, both naturally and the progression of the states that time represents, the states of the times of day, they're for our benefit. We go through them because the Lord's trying to help us. The Lord's trying to lift us to heaven and perfect us.